folks, we've made it to another video. It's another roster evaluation. We're going to go over now the Friday Night Smackdown roster here on Fox. So we have lots of, arbitrary lack of star power on the SmackDown roster. They haven't developed most of their managerial, freaking young talent that most of these guys on the roster have been on NXT. Forgetful jobber talents, or just taken a while to finally be established as a singles or tag team competitor. So we're gonna go over tag team stars together or separate depending on who they are. So we're gonna open up with Aleister Black. Aleister Black has been quite a disappointment, and it comes over his rise from he came from tagging with Ricochet and being most of the top guys in the tag team division. And most of his majority now giving off this crappy gimmick of, I need to fight somebody. I need to fight somebody. I need to fight somebody. His minimalist gothic character gets less growth as more we go on over his character. And the guy just doesn't show a defiant build other than this skinny dude with tattoos, and he seems interesting outside of wrestling. And they don't have any other plans for him, because other than that, he has a lack of a defiant look. He kind of has no charisma, or at least a character. He doesn't need much of a likability trait, especially if he's supposed to be this dark character. And he's just a major disappointment. When he's released, people are just going to be really disappointed because, of course, they went to high hopes for another NXT champion that has yet to grow on the main roster. And some of it is WWE's fault, and others Aleister Black for not trying to adapt in the company and try to make something out of himself. You really need to make your voice be heard if you want to get a higher promotion in your job. You can't be just blaming that around the guys that hired you in the first place because of your skill. Alicia Aston, I haven't seen much off this chick. She seems okay, even though she brings up this I'm probably in my early 30s, but I know I'm 40 years old type of vibe. Next up, we have Angelo Dawkins. And Angelo Dawkins, he's the most least charismatic of the Street Profits. He tries to bring up this mellow, chill muscle of the Street Profits type of thing. He has a lack of a charisma, in my opinion. And out of most of what goes on, he's like the weakest over for hot tags, and he'll sometimes show up a cool move. He's the most unquotable. I already hate the Street Profits as well as with Montez Ford, because how much they're forcefully down our throat to have a rip-off Crime Time that's been PG-13 with crap jokes, forceful off-putting skits. They're not profitable in any semblance of the way. They just suck. I'm sorry, bro. Other than Montez Ford sometimes does cool moves, they just suck. They just suck. Next up, we have Apollo Cruz that's still on this main roster. Dude, get rid of him. Get rid of these guys that are just decent look, okay smile, and that's it. That's been Apollo Cruz' character since 2016. The guy's been on the roster for that long. It took him this year, during a pandemic, to win the United States Championship. Then losing clean to Lashley. Then he was in this 50-50 little off-putting feud with MVP, and he was decently looking strong, but he's been just jobbing MVP. No one cares about Apollo Cruz. He has no semblance of a freaking charisma. This is just NXT's mindset. Okay, all because you did this over the indies and you can do a couple cool flips while you're a big dude, it's not going to captivate a casual audience to know who the hell you are. I mean, sure, there was Lashley being the ripoff Brock Lesnar, but at least the guy has a defiant look. He looked dominant, and now he's back now where he was literally on freaking Bellator, ripping guys apart, being at least at the time, the biggest promotion out of WWE, and winning all their championships. So you can't tell me Lashley isn't legit. Apollo is the Benadryl of Bobby Lashley. He is the spit that comes out Lashley. All the athleticism, all the looks, Just nothing else of substance. I'm sorry for going on that mini rant for Apollo Cruz. Hopefully he just finds something to make him stand out, but he just sucks, bro. Out of all the big black guys with a nice smile, I'm shocked Big E isn't a main eventer by now. And now we have Bailey that just sucks. Her matches can be C-list at best, and people just hype her up because of what happened back on NXT Brooklyn when she faced off against Sasha Banks for the NXT Women's Championship in an amazing match. It's just so regurgitating. That's the only semblance of relevance she got. She barely got a charm. She barely has a sense of conducting heat other than get out my TV heat. Because obviously there's nothing stand out about you. And they can try to bring up that, oh, her hair makes her uglier so she can get heat from the fans. Yeah, she's not a compelling talker. She sucks. She can't roosh off everybody. Nearly every storyline she has, she can barely make it work over her little "this is your life" shit that she did with Alexa Bliss, her stuff that she's been doing with Charlotte, or "I'm not your friend" stuff garbage that she was doing with Sasha Banks over the span of 2 years. It just sucks, and every storyline she puts over sucks. And over all this stuff, even given finally her own heelish persona that people have been asking for since the year she was over in the main roster, she's absolutely failed and given Smackdown and Raw the weakest ratings over her main events. Gosh. Next up we have Bianca Belair that is somewhat with potential. She has a charm about her. She has look. She has charisma. I'm just swear she's going to just be in these minimal ass feuds. Hopefully they try to target her as a threat for the women's championship and try to do something with her. Hopefully, or at least give her a managerial role. At least she has potential. She's athletic. If you haven't seen her, she was also in the Rumble where she made a big thing. I think she got like 8 eliminations. So WWE knew since like she was still in NXT at the time that she still has potential. We have Big E that over most of the New Day, and New Day have been given a lot of flack, but over all of this, it was the most successful over most of this PG garbage era. They were the most profitable and the most crossover heavy. These guys are in a freaking Gears game. These guys have their own. One of them have a successful YouTube channel. I mean, yes, it's owned by the WWE, but it's still off his own creation. And one of the most notable guys when you come up to the WWE. And Big E at least has, you know, not the greatest talking ability, but he has a charm and he has a charisma about him. Plus, he's a big ass power lifter with good likability. So I guess they're gonna try to push him over for the IC championship again. So they're doing the right thing with letting him focus on the mid card title. So there's at least some potential over with Big E. There was never any potential for Kofi Kingston. So it's decent enough. It's been long awaited that he's been given a singles run. Next up is Billie Kay. That just needs to be a freaking manager. She is not appealing enough to be a wrestler. And most of the times they just have her jobbing out to the Riot Squad now. And if you're consistently jobbing out to a tag team that you're not much with a storyline with, just make you a manager. Who can she make a manager? She can make a manager out of Bo Dallas that's still on the SmackDown roster. Cesaro, Gable, Dominic. I mean, what happened to that storyline that she was doing? Murphy, just any of the top like mid carders she could be managing with a little resume shtick that is average enough but doesn't seem to be that quotable. It's Billie Kay just never feels like a wrestler to me. Next up we got Bo Dallas that hasn't been much since the Miz Taraj crap, and he's just been dodging around the 24/7 garbage title, and then he's been teased to come back to NXT. That I guess is a better look for him. I don't really care. Bo Dallas hasn't been over since the Bo Leave stuff. Then they put him over the social outcast faction jobber. It was just a Job Squad 2.5. Now he's just flopping around the card. I think he's on main event or something. You guys could look it up. I don't really care. We got Byron Saxton that sucks. He still hasn't got a quotable line out of any semblance of his commentary other than getting bullied on commentary. His scuffed pickle Planet Sheen head ass built like a dirty light bulb. He can't make lines happen. He can't be alluring on commentary. He barely calls a move, and he's just bland. The most scoffed emotion that he had was calling, I think, Samoa Joe a son of a bitch, and that was it. Byron Saxton sucks. How you suck on NXT, then you suck on commentary. Next, we got Carmella. I don't know why she calls herself the hottest blonde chick. They did the same little Barbie doll misunderstanding BS with Mandy, but here's the thing. Mandy's attractive. Man, Lana's attractive even though she's gifted crap storylines. At least she's attractive enough to stay over TV, and she has the most compelling storylines over on Raw. I don't think you guys get it. What was Carmella's most top-notch storyline she's been gifted since being on the main roster? Her stuff with James Ellsworth and R-Truth. People that are more talented than her. What has Lana been gifted? Top-notch, top-rating, or at least relationship storylines that at least Rusev one that was gifted at least a bit of a ratings bump. Her stuff that she had with Ziggler and Rusev again for a relationship storyline, and then this thing when she's getting bullied by Nia Jax. There's more focus on Lana there than there is for Carmella. Her matches suck. She looks like a scuffed. She looks like a scream face with terrible mustache that always dresses in drag, with always a wig on her hair, on her head. It's just she comes over with this sommelier IG model bull crap that won't go over because she's not that attractive, and it's just so annoying because I know why she's still on the roster, because Corey Graves is dating him. I mean, dating her. I swear that wasn't an insult. I swear. And that's practically it. She can't even do a super kick right, dude. She needs the ropes to do a super kick. You had to get carried against freaking Sasha Banks. Chill out. I hate Carmella. Next up, we got Cesaro. Cesaro, really talented, but his chances of even trying to be over for a singles push is like nowhere. He has no definitive gimmick. All he is over the last span of 5 years have been a pretty good tag team expert. Like, over what he has done, he hasn't held a singles championship since 2012, guys. It's over. Stop it. He's more of a tag team expert. The most you guys can even remember is, of course, the thing he did in Andre the Memorial Battle Royal and his uppercuts. The guy is cooler as a tag team partner, and I can live with that. I'm done with thinking he's a single star. He has no semblance of a gimmick. He obviously can't talk that portrayally well, and the most he had to even having a semblance of emotion was when he was upset that he was on a different brand, over complaining of the brand split after trying to make a name for himself in the non-brand split era. And now what is he, like a multi-time tag team champion with Nakamura and Sheamus? And he won the tag team belts with Sheamus about like 4 times. Over the span of them like having a best of 7. So I'm just confused. So y'all should just give up on this little singles run for Sheamus. I mean Cesaro. Speaking about midgets, we're gonna go over to this rip-off, cuck, pube-haired, baby Kurt Angle in the face. Oh, God, I hate Gable. The Shorty G garbage he had for the shtick of people mocking his height is garbage, all because of crappy backstory over from backstage politics involving Vince making fun of his height and giving him this dumb nickname. He can't get himself over without a bigger dude, and now he's noticing that when he's with Otis now, and it's just so garbage. He has only a few selective moves, and people like complain, oh, we need more of a variable moveset. No, you just need a notable moveset. All he does is dumb German suplexes with a roll up for a close finish, and the guy barely has any quotable lines. He's not that funny as Kurt Angle. He's not that enjoyable as Kurt Angle. He'll never be as charismatic as Kurt Angle trying to captivate an audience. He barely even has suitable promo. Thinks he always looks like he's gonna talk like no one wants that. Gable sucks. Corey Graves, sure, he can act a bit boorish at times, and he's been overheat from guys like Booker T that I respect the hell out of Booker T. and all that mess, and most of his accusations over, you know, racial issues backstage, and a bit of adultery with Carmella. That dude, you can do better. But that's just my opinion. I don't really care. But he's still one of the better commentators on the WWE. He's better than Morrow. He's better, more quotable. He can smoothly transition into most moves. The guy can at least captivate an audience, and he sounds professional, even though he looks like he just came out of a bar every time they do shows. And at least the guy looks good. So there's at least a positive over there. You see, I could be nice. So Daniel Bryan needs to bring back his vegan gimmick. I don't care if it's babyface or heel, that works. People don't like vegans. Vegans are notable over society, and he can treat it as a heel or a babyface. He can just be like a guy that wants to protect the earth, or just be a guy that shames people for not protecting the earth. And it worked. It conducted heat. He was more over. I like the whole planetary championship thing. It was great. The only thing was I didn't want that to be for a main event scene. That's the only confusion I had. And if it was more over to, produce more of the mid card, I think Daniel Bryan would be more comfortable with that because he gets to work with some of the lower card guys and try to build them up over his legitimacy because the guy's already accomplished way too much as advertised. Next up, fire the hell out of Dolph Ziggler. God, what else do you have for him? He's just chasing the Street Profits for the tag team titles with Robert Roode. Yes, I don't even know how they developed their tag team. They came from just being cronies for Corbin, and now he's just there. He's just on the roster. Ziggler has a crap character. He's just gonna be scratch and clawed. The more they try to bring up his amateuristic background, is like, when does that ever develop him winning other than the sleeper hold that he rarely does anymore for the finish since like 2012. His moveset always was selective rip-offs of better wrestlers. His his promos are always making him feel whiny. He's built like a muscle noodle. He's just bad, and it's not like he's a bad wrestler. It's just that he's an annoying one. The more he won't even adapt to the factor that he's always gonna be a lower card schluck, he's never gonna realize he's never gonna be a main eventer, and his fans won't even understand that. He doesn't have the physique as Billy Gunn, and he doesn't have the charisma like Shawn Michaels. His moveset is always completely, conflictingly predictable, and it's trash. Stop giving me Dolph Ziggler. Dominic Mysterio, average wrestler, but he needs to go to developmental. He can't do promos. He can't convince with acting. He needs acting schools if Ray wants to push him over in the mid card, in the top card, and give him the top storylines. He can't act. He can barely reach over with a simple argument with his own sister. the the guy seems to be okay over in the ring, and you have to thank Ray for doing that. But by God, dude, he obviously is a bit green. Dominic is wearing like the Shield plus luchador type garbage. Try to bring him over to Evolve or something. Give him like a blue chip on the shoulder gimmick or something, man. I don't want to see him on the main roster anymore. Jackson Riker is on Raw, so I'm not going to talk about that. He has a good physique. The guy can do cool moves. It just doesn't feel like he can talk. He at least looks like an ass kicker, and plus he's a Marine. He was a Marine, so you got to give him his credit when credit was due. And now they screwed over the Forgotten Sons because Big E's a whiny asshole. So next up we have the Usos. Jimmy is injured, leaving over Jay, that has been literally the comeback star of the year, in my opinion. It was main eventing. He had literally the two greatest matches of the last few pay-per-views. He has had great acting motifs with Roman Reigns and stealing ratings with main eventing matches against Daniel Bryan and Kevin Owens. He's literally had the best promos over most of SmackDown. So I gotta give Jey Uso his credit. Jimmy, I haven't seen the same progression over most of this because, of course, he's been injured. So at least talk about him. But I don't know what they're gonna do because most of what I've been seeing, guys, been confused. Things like most of the summer, I noticed there was more Jey Usos. Like, what are they doing? Did they split up the tag team? No, he was just injured. Kalisto, what the hell? Like, what happened to Kalisto, bro? Wasn't he like beating Del Rio for the U.S. Championship? Then he beats Ryback. He was supposed to be the 2.0 of Rey Mysterio, and then the poor bastard comes up to the Lucha House Party. He got no definable trait. He has okay moves, but he has no charisma, man. And now they're not even pushing him over in the mid card. He comes wearing a top hat, and it's supposed to be, oh, here's a hot shot of Lucha House Party. Trying to build something for him, nothing's happening. Kalisto just sucks, bro. And I just wish they had the end of this brand split so I didn't have to worry about this. I don't mind keeping SmackDown a B show, but making it fun. There's nothing wrong with having a B show, but you can make it fun and still advance the storylines there for the week. Attitude Era did that, and that was all fine. You had an extended week to see most of your stars again. Nothing was wrong with that. And WWE doesn't get the mantra to actually get their stars over like that, and you're stuck with guys like Kalisto on the roster that can't get himself over. And here's Kane, that I hope they bring back. There's a lack of monsters in the WWE, and that's apparent. They need a guy like Kane on the roster. Have him feuding with Roman come the Royal Rumble. I think they're going to probably plan that for Daniel Bryan or something, but they need like a monster gimmick. A monster character on SmackDown. They need to bring back Kane for at least a bit of work, teasing over Roman Reigns and try to bring that his time is up and stuff like that. Because Kane can still be used. It looks like he can still go, but I know he has his responsibilities. Kayla Braxton. He's one of the better hot interviewers WWE keep having. That's practically it. She's hotter than Charlie Caruso. I'll admit that. Those better questions, she sounds more professional. Kevin Owens, they need to stop him in the main event scene. They really do. He just looked like an idiot for most of the month. And I'm not saying that Kevin Owens sucks. He doesn't. He's a talented wrestler. He can be compelling to talk, especially in emotional storylines. But I just feel like he's just there for now. We have Corbin that just sucks. This tall, lanky, skinny, fat, cancer patient, Burger King gigantism piece of garbage. Oh my god, Corbin sucks. His moveset is somewhat viable for a heavyweight, but he has no charisma. He sucks in the ring at some points that he barely looks like he can bump in the right position. And he just can't talk. It's just dry, protruded little freaking dry heaving. And I deserve to be world champion. Like, he's annoying. I understand it's a heel motif to be annoying so you can get the boos going, and especially how a heel talks. You want to boo him just so you can make him shut up. I get that's the point. No, he's just boring. Corbin is boring. He's supposed to be King Corbin. He's showing no lineage. They didn't give him vignettes. They don't get him over, at least in the fact of making him be important. King Booker, they make him act like a king. They make him behave like a king. They make him go the whole 9 yards, and that was over. King Corbin sucks. Regular Corbin sucks. He needs to be out of the roster. Next, we have Lars Sullivan that needs to be out. First, you have that gay sex tape. Second, you have You're a bald face. You can't be your own. You can't even be a rip-off Schnitzky. And if you can't even be a rip-off Schnitzky, you suck. He has no character. The guy has average matches. His promo ability is it just went down the drain as soon as you heard him yell that one time when he was in that interview with Michael Cole. And by God, he's just boring. What's with these boring vanilla bald-faced douchebags that Triple H keeps sending down to Vince to deal with? Liv Morgan, I need to see her in the singles run. This chick is way too attractive to be just wasting it with Ruby Riott. They just have him as a tag team for no reason at this point. That's just my opinion on the matter. But you know it's true. I'm upset about what happened to Liv's YouTube channel. And I just feel like the Riot Squad are just going to win. Probably just keep jobbing out for the women's tag team titles because obviously they have no depth. And they just feel like they just patched in for no reason after Liv was literally in a singles run for like under a year. So there was like no rush to bring back the tag team. Maurice, she's already doing Mrs. and Mrs. The only thing that she has that's relevant is that obvious nip slip. She looks way better. I don't know why in the hell they don't give her back her managerial role with The Miz. She seemed fine in that aspect, and these guys just obviously have chemistry because, of course, they're married. Next up is Michael Cole. By God, what the hell? Michael Cole has been more tolerable than he was, like, since, like, 2010 to like, I'll give it, like, 2016. I mean, he's still intolerable, bland, barely calls a move, barely shows that much enthusiasm than he was like in the mid-2000s, especially with whatever the stars are doing that are probably, inhumane. And he just lacks any semblance of emotional charm than he did back in the day when he was younger. Mickie James, I don't know what the hell they're going to do with her. They just have her there as just a seasoned veteran. She should be, like, pushing herself to be still, like, targeting the women's championship, especially with the lack of depth on the women's roster on SmackDown. Like, all they have is Bianca Belair, Bayley, Natalya, like, a bunch of mid-off jobbers, like, with one tag team. Like, try to add a veteran. Mickie James still looks good for her age. She still can work, and she still could, make up for good legitimacy, especially for your relevant SmackDown Women's Championship. Even if Bayley was holding it for over a year. Mojo Rawley sucks. Get him out of here. Get him out of here. I'm not going to waste my breath on him. Montez Ford is the most athletic and the most talented, but he just has the most forceful, extended... He just looks like a crackhead whenever he tries to make a promo just to force feed that he has charisma. Notched over. The guy looks good. I'll admit that the guy looks all right, and he can do some moves. Other than that, he's just a bit bland. Probably they Dutch over his character. At least try to make them rip off what the Usos were doing. Then probably they'll be somewhat more relatable than just guys with cups and oh yeah, they be drinking. PG's version of the Vince can book black people. Oh God. Next up, we got Murphy that's supposedly in this storyline with Corbin and the Forgotten Sons. It's been like, 3 weeks since that's been relevant? And they just notch over the storyline with no vignettes. It's like something happened or something, but it's just... And I'm saying something a lot. Other than that, they're not doing much for that storyline. I don't know if they blocked over the point because Seth Rollins has been gone, or if Vince just gave up on Murphy because there's not really much to his character other than he's just a decent-looking cruiserweight. And he only was like interesting for like that one time when they found out that Roman Reigns got some metal beams dropped on him. Ollie's on Raw, so I'm gonna cross that off. Natalya just sucks. Get Natalya out. She just can't do anything, bro. She got no promos. She is a technically sound woman and she is talented. She just is like already outlived her usefulness on the roster. She can't put anybody over. Like, her moveset's already as immeasurably boring as it is, and they're not going to do anything more interesting with her. They can just keep her over as a producer or something. I just want to see Natalya more in the ring. Otis, I think they give up on him. Just give up on him. They have him being a blue collar guy shtick. It doesn't work because he just looks like a fat retard. I'm sorry to say it like that. He's just a fat retard. That's what they have him booked over in the company, especially when they have him saying Tucker and Chucker just holding his hand, having that Mandy thing, and how he lost his girl. He lost his own best friend just over jealousy out of nowhere. And he just comes around not guessing himself over because he's just a fat weirdo dude that sort of likes overeating. No part of him shows him over like a blue collar man like Dusty Rhodes. At least he comes out with a semblance over his promos being emotional, relatable, and a semblance of showing hard work does pay off to be successful. Otis isn't that, even though he's literally won Money in the Bank and got that taken away by The Miz. I don't know why Paige is still on the roster, even though they literally took over her chances to still be making money, even though the woman can't even wrestle anymore. The woman even got a movie made about her life. And they don't even try to pick her back as a GM, even though she was literally like a GM back in like 2017 to 2018. They don't make her a manager for at least some of the failing women that barely have enough to have any semblance of a character. And at least pay her that way, or at least make her a booker for some of the women's division. I mean, the lady still looks great. She looking better than how she was back in like 2014. She can obviously show a semblance of charm, and she can talk. So I don't know why the hell they're not doing much with Paige. Paul Heyman, one of the greatest managerial minds, and of course, an experienced guy in the wrestling business, best manager for Roman Reigns. Rey Mysterio, I don't know what else they're doing with him. They have him off TV for no reason. Robert Roode has the biggest potential to be a star. Yet again, they just changed his name for no apparent reason. He has the look. He has a talking ability. Just why you have him in a forced tag team with Ziggler that have no reason to exist. Roman Reigns is doing his thing. We just have to make sure he's not poorly taken, inconsistently weak, or at least just dumbly booked until he faces like The Rock or at least Goldberg to have at least some semblance of selling factor. They need to grow over his faction, at least to bring Jimmy Uso or Tamina as a threat in like a family whole faction, even though Tamina's not really related over with the Anoa'i family because she's related over with Jimmy Snuka, and we can't really reference that much anymore. Next up, we have Ruby Riott, and the chick. She has the look of like probably the hot chick you probably got rejected, that goth chick you got rejected on in a Hot Topic. She has an average little rocker goth look. She cut her hair and she kind of looks worse. Now she just looks like a goth Squidward, a long ass nose. Dude, what? She isn't that impressive in the ring than most of the women's roster they have here. But yeah, that's practically it. I just find Ruby Riott bland, in my opinion. Sami Zayn, even though he's an SJW, midget, bland, baby, douchebag, I find him okay, at least over in the ring. He had some pretty enjoyable matches over the span of his Intercontinental Championship reign, and he's just been okay over with promo, and it's good to see over most of the year. He's been a compelling talker with his whole electric chair thing, his promos he's been getting over with the IC Championship. So the guy has shown he has more of a talking ability, and the coward is heel thing just works for him. Next up, we have Sasha Banks, that is the better of the four horsewomen. Like, that really matters. She has potential to be as talented as she is, and she's having one of the better women's title reigns that she had over the last few years. Just try to give her a faction or something. Make like the women's division coherent. Be like, oh my god, she calls herself a boss. She has a faction. Like, make a coherent look for Sasha Banks. Don't be just making her just a title of a leader, and you don't make her a leader of something other than, oh, she's the leader of the women's division. Like, come on, that's just bland, man. That's just bland. Nobody just wants a bland piece of steak. They want bland. They want steak with substance, some seasoning, some juices coming out. And Sasha has potential. I just wish she looked a tiny bit more defined and bigger. Not just a 19-year-old that wears a wig, a blue wig. In fact, Seth Rollins, he was more pudgy. His storylines were at least most talked about because he kind of gouged out Rey Mysterio's eye and got in that whole subplot with Murphy hooking up with Liam Mysterio. So he at least had that going for him. I just wish he had more of a give him at least a rocker character or something. He has lacked over as a babyface, and the whole God complex gimmick obviously has not been that substantive effective. So probably they're just gonna force him back over to be babyface and make him face Roman Reigns. That's the most predictable I can face over that. And yeah, that's practically it. Rollins ain't interesting in my opinion. He's not built over like a big guy, and he's not that substance of a tall guy, and he has the same the same overdone moveset of everybody doing suicide dives, super kicks, and knee strikes, with no semblance of his moves telling a story. Next up, we of course have Shinsuke Nakamura. He won the Royal Rumble. That's it. He has the most forgettable reigns. He's a former SmackDown Tag Team Champion, won the IC and the US Champion in like a year or so, and he just sucks. He has cool moves, but it's like his stiff, strong style. He has no character. I'd rather take 60-year-old Tajiri than Shinsuke Nakamura. He has no semblance of a peripheral charisma other than he just looks like a gay artist that'd be like, okay, now strip naked, lose the sock, and freaking metrosexual thriller built ass. He can't. He's just not over, guys. Already went over the downfall of Shinsuke Nakamura on the main roster. And you can blame it over creative, but the guy had him over main eventing, getting the top of the card over AJ Styles so they can go over a Japanese Mania that nobody watched. Nakamura is just a failed over project. They can just bring him over to AEW because of course they like Japs there. Ruin their promotion. Nakamura is just there. He has no semblance over adapting, and he's just in a random tag team with Cesaro. He's just there, guys. He's not going to be over the top of the card to be feuding with, like, Roman Reigns or something. Steve Cutler and Wesley Blake of the Forgotten Sons are now left alone because Jackson Riker is now the security guard of Elias. These guys are also former Marines. They're doing this whole thing with Murphy that I think they're going to just blacklist anyway. They seem like decent heavyweight tag teams, like change up their names a bit. Try to make a defiant tag team division. That's just my opinion on the matter. Hopefully they do. I don't really care about these guys. You can like interchange them with anything, but we can't do trades anymore because of our weak ass draft. The brand split sucks. Next up we got Tamina that it's just a bland, fat version of herself. She has no charisma. The only thing she's had is getting over by other men or women. Like, you can only reference that one time she was in a relationship with Santina Marella back in the day, and then that's it. Tamina sucks. She managed the Usos, like, once. And that was it. And she was managed by AJ Lee. I mean, bodyguarding AJ Lee. That was it. Just getting over by other talented people. She sucks in the ring. Every time they try to inconsistently appoint her as a monster female, like a Nia Jax on the roster, but always jobs out to the cowardice heel or babyface, and she just can't get herself over. That's the evaluation on everybody on the SmackDown roster. Woo! I want to go home. Other than that, folks, that's all I got here on the evaluation of the SmackDown roster. I think this is a bit longer than the Raw roster, and because I went over to more in-depth detail because the roster's a bit shorter here than on Raw. So that's practically what I got over most of them. I see potential, but for most, I feel like they should split off this little fucking brand split. Most of these guys can't run over and get themselves over immediately separately, and they just don't have enough to roll over for a calendar year, especially in a storyline standpoint, because most of these guys are barely here on television. Especially Mojo Rawley, Mickie James, Maurice, Kane, Kalisto's barely on TV, and they want to build over this roster even though it's a complete failure. But that's just my opinion on the matter. If you guys enjoyed this video, that's all I got. Happy holidays. I hope you guys enjoy yourselves. That's it. Coming from me.